We review it Wednesday.
Introducing your hosts.
I know there's been a lot of speculation of whether or not I am Matt Logan. And yes, I am Matt Logan.
I'm Tyler. Tyler Peterson.
Slugheads.
So they didn't call it number 23. They didn't call it Jordan. They didn't call it... What else could they have called it?
The Last Dance.
Oh.
Yeah. It would have been actually really applicable to do 23.
Yeah.
Because it's year 23, and like you said, it's the jersey that he wears.
I mean...
So many meanings.
They did not want to put his likeness in here for some reason. I thought that was it's kind of a fun concept.
Yeah.
You know, they had Michael Jordan when he was, 20, 21, something like that.
Right.
Where he was, they had kind of almost a side profile view, but kind of his back, upper body and stuff in a couple of shots and things, but never his likeness.
Yeah.
Never an imitation.
So strange.
It was strange, but I kind of liked it.
I respect that.
Yeah, I mean, it was... I was hoping he would do some sort of cameo, though.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
It sounded like, at least one of the facts that I saw was that Michael Jordan, he wasn't directly involved in the film, which is why I don't really see him the producer or anything in those credits. But sounds like Affleck did at least consult him about making the movie, and he said that his two stipulations that he wanted was for Viola Davis to play his mom. Obviously, that happened, and for Chris Tucker to be in the film. It didn't have to be a specific role or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
And it sounds like Affleck really wanted to work with him anyways, which is then where he got put into the Howard White. So, pretty interesting.
That is interesting. I wonder they must be friends.
Yeah. Who isn't friends with Michael Jordan?
Wow, there you go. The they did a nice I don't know, would you call it homage to his dad?
Yeah, they did.
When he was shot and killed and stuff. They had that in the film.
Right. I really liked when he first met his family.
Yeah.
That was really sweet and genuine of, James just being like, oh yeah, let me go get to the real boss.
Right.
And just like being super respectful, super kind. Because that's how did you ever watch the documentary The Last Dance?
No.
Super interesting. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done, but you could always tell how much respect he had for his dad. I was born in '94, so a lot of the stuff with the dynasty and stuff like that was like stuff was happening. Yeah. And so it was really cool to be able to see in this film that same respect done for him. And you could tell, to me, you could really tell that Ben Affleck cared about Michael Jordan's legacy.
Yeah.
And it was really reflected in the way that he shot his parents. Even with some of the negotiations and stuff was seemed incredibly respectful in the way that it was done towards the family.
And of course, Affleck played Phil.
Oh gosh.
And stuff.
I know you like your red dresses, and I felt like anytime I saw Phil, I was like, "Oh, Matt's going to like this outfit."
That's right. That was hilarious. And making the comment about his running shorts and stuff like that too,
and then you see it happen. That
was.
I always love those jokes, not jokes, I guess, but like those tags that pay off later on.
Yeah. I was at a graduation for one of my kids, and it was a college graduation, so the speaker there talked about, Phil and some of the quirkiness behind him and how the running shoes were, that was like 90% of their business, and blah, blah, blah. And it was an interesting story, but he didn't deliver it very well.
Right.
So I liked how they had that in there too. Yeah. Like, hey, we're a $900 million a year company or whatever, and it's because of running, because everybody wears a running shoe, whether you're walking or going to the grocery store, all that kind of stuff. But that was kind of cool because it's true.
Yeah.
And so to see some of those things like, on the big screen you heard about and, stuff like that was kind of fun. I didn't really So one of the things I didn't care for though is I was hoping they would do something to make it a little faster.
Yeah, it was pretty slow.
Yeah. I did like the story, but it was slow.
Yep.
And
There was definitely points where it was slow, but the story was intriguing enough to me to that it balanced out enough of like I worked through the slowness because I was really invested with the characters.
As a kid, I remember when these came out. You know,
Yeah.
when the Air Jordans came out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember anything really before that,
Right.
but I do remember the big deal that this made.
Yeah.
It didn't make any money though. This film is doing really poorly.
Which is interesting because originally Amazon was going to, not Amazon.
Yeah, it's an
Oh,
Amazon.
yeah, Amazon.
It's
Yeah.
an Amazon film.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. Amazon Studios. They were originally just going to put it straight to streaming was their plan. And then they
Right.
did screen testing, scored really high. And so they're like, all right, we can put it to theaters. And so it's not doing as strong. But again, it's in a movie like this, I could never expect it to do incredibly well, even if it is really well done.
I do believe you can rent it though. And
Yeah.
that probably doesn't help either for the box office. You can
Right.
rent it streaming.
Yeah.
So there's that, but Chris Tucker, we talked about that pre-recording here,
Yeah.
and Chris Tucker in this role, that was just really interesting to see him do this, I thought, for me anyway.
Right.
I was not expecting it to be that serious of a role, but you look at the character he played, I guess he was a pretty influential, serious,
Yeah, he had to be.
component to the company.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Who stuck out to you, or
Well, I mean, Ben Affleck's Phil Knight was definitely the one that stuck out to me the most. Of like
because of his shades,
his
and
shades,
all of
his personality,
bare
though,
feet- bare
his bare
feet
feet,
on the-
even though
yeah.
it's a shoe company, like,
Yeah.
but his personality was quirky, and was anytime he was in a scene, it was interesting to see what he would have to say. Like, I was always intrigued. Like, obviously he's the CEO, but respected the people that he had hired to work for him. But like,
Sounds like several of them kind of his friends.
Yeah.
At least they became friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
don't
I-
know the real history, but
so I really liked his character. I liked the relationship between Sonny and Rob, so Matt Damon and Jason Bateman's character. Thought that was a really fun relationship to see play out during the film, and see like understanding each other's passions, but also understanding how that's going to affect their own career, but also understanding the risk reward. Like, there was so much going on when it comes to like long term of these choices that are being made. And it was really cool to see some of that respect play out, and that they respected each other.
I like how David Falk, his Chris Messina.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder how it's probably pretty similar. I'm sure they studied it
Yeah.
pretty closely and things. So that was really fun. I thought that they did Matt Damon and him, whether or not they were actually on the phone with each other, I doubt it. But
Right.
I think that played out very, very well. Like, yeah,
I
right.
pulled out my phone because
Yeah.
he's yelling at me, talking about how he's going to eat my nuts.
Right. It was great, So I think that what they did with this, and I would assume how they portrayed real life scenarios, maybe it was dramatized, of course, probably, but it was it was very cool to me to see how they did that, and it worked really well for me. So I scored it at a 4.0.
Okay. I really liked it. I gave it a 4.4. I really liked the relationships and how they worked with each other. The other thing that was really cool was how they really had distinct characters for Adidas. They had just like the CEO, the people involved within that company when they did shots there. Same with Converse. Was really cool to see how each one was really unique. And you could see their values. Granted, Sonny said, hey, here's what they're going to tell you. And that's exactly what they told Michael Jordan's mom about it. And so it was really cool to see that as well, which is why I gave the chemistry a little bit higher, just because again, the movie was slow, but again, the characters and the way they developed, the story was really, really intriguing to me. And like you were you're not there, but you were around that time period.
Yeah. No, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember when the Air Jordans like hit the shelves. I mean, I was young, but it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
I was an Adidas. I played basketball.
Ooh.
And I was an Adidas lover for a very long time. And then there was a couple of seasons, though, that I got some I don't remember if they were Jordans, though, but there were some Nike Air.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that were good. But Adidas made a good basketball shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
really
that's
did.
what they said too was,
Yeah.
you know, Adidas is going to be the best, but Nike, you know,
Yeah.
we're going to work for you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it sounds like happened. And so where I was going with you were in the time period, you know, I'm reflecting a lot of it post. And so for me, it's like, you know, I can see, you know, like things like The Last Dance. I understand the impact that he had, but then to be able to see a movie like this in a way that kind of talks about the story, again, a lot of it's going to be dramatized and stuff like that, but it was still incredibly intriguing. And like I said, I've never looked into too much of what goes into these contracts and what was it like in the 90s when it was more, you know, the business is doing you a favor of building these contracts. But
Well, this would have been in the 80s, wasn't it?
oh yeah, oh you're right, it would have been the 80s.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
would have been a rookie.
I'm like, wait, this
Yeah.
was,
Sorry.
this would have been, right.
So
Yeah, so go ahead.
yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and for me it was the characters involved in the film that made it really, really cool.
Yeah, it was 1984.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds right.
So,
And that is right because you just Googled it. So.
yeah, well, it says it right here. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Google is actually right, but
It's not wrong.
you know, yeah.
But, you know, you could always tell us if we're wrong because there's a lot of times in which we probably are.
Oh yeah, it's just it's opinion commentary.
Yeah. I also like the Air Jordan comments going back to the, you know, David Falk's character.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're calling him Air Jordan. And then when they're designing the shoes, he like, I was working on this Air concept and like, it just wasn't panning out.
Yeah.
But like, I think I figured it out.
Yeah.
Air Jordan. And then the whole dynamic of like, well, technically I've heard that before, but we'll give you the
Yeah.
rights for coming up with it, which sounds like was actually the case when everything came out. So it's cool that they gave both sides credibility of, you know, they uniquely thought of it. They just happened to both think of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's very cool. We got to find out though what you said in that one episode.
I know. You know, I say things and then
And it worked though,
It
right?
did.
I was like,
well-
oh, yeah, that would make a good shirt.
yeah. Tyler the Wise.
But,
That's right. And then the back just says BS. Cinematography. Well, I didn't pay
I
attention.
think that would actually, you know, I'm going to interrupt you a second. I think Tyler the Wise, you cross out the Y.
That's
and say
right.
Tyler yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Cinematography.
it's you. I believe in you probably have thoughts.
I liked how this looked. There was certain things that definitely were not like 1984.
They
But
shot it with a special lens too.
A lot of it did look really good.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember.
Like it would have been shot in 84.
Yeah. I can't remember what lens they used, but there was definitely something I read where they were like, they used this filter to make sure it looked like something from that time. And the whole time it was like, yeah, it's like a tinted yellow, which makes sense.
Yeah, totally. There's a few outdoor shots, though, I feel like were a little bit more vibrant and stuff than some of the... We've reviewed stuff from 84, Ghostbusters,
we have.
Dune, a few other things.
Yeah.
We
were on like a streak where it was like
I know,
every other
84,
week.
84,
Yeah, that's right.
84,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
weird. I know.
Oh, that was funny.
But so cinematography for me, they did do a good job. I felt like I was in that time period because I lived in that time period. Yeah, I was pretty young, but I do remember a lot of it, especially, you know, certain parts of my life then were, you know, that stick out. But so I was impressed that they it wasn't one of those things. You know, we did Dungeons and Dragons, and I hated the cinematography.
Yeah.
You know, but this one I felt like it was real. I was there, things like that. So this is a 4.2.
Okay.
For me. There's not a lot of things. This is just, it's a documentary. It's not actually technically, but it, you know, they're not going to spend too much time on certain things, and you can, and you can tell, but yeah.
Yeah, and so we don't talk about costumes, like that's just not something we critique individually, but I think this is a great place to talk about talking about cinematography. Is that, like you said, the look was really good, and we talked about the red dresses that, you know, Ben Affleck wasn't wearing dresses, but his costume designs were incredibly unique.
Yeah, so if you're new to the podcast and just hearing this for the first time, the Matrix, for me, the girl in the red dress.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that standout,
Yeah.
you know, costume stuff. Like
Pops.
we talked about it in Ghostbusters,
Yeah,
1984, the orange dress.
Yeah.
And then in Ghostbusters Afterlife, they brought, you know, a different color, but same kind of feel.
Exactly.
Things like that really just like, this is almost out of place. I love that.
Yeah. So they did that in this film for me,
Yes.
and it was so much fun to watch. And even like Sonny's clothes, like the clothing in general is just, it was of the time, and it got you like connected to where are we at in our history, and we knew exactly. And so between the stuff they did with the filter, the costume stuff they did, love seeing the neon Nike symbol and stuff like that. So yeah, I give it a 4.1. Again, this film isn't about the crazy shots. It's not about the crazy panoramic stuff like that, but still the way they did everything was really enjoyable.
Yeah, it really was. It's not entertaining, but it is interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a few parts that are entertaining.
And there's different perspectives of how we look at entertainment, where, like we talked about D&D, that's action.
Yeah.
Where are we going to get the entertainment from? It's going to be from the action.
Yes.
Where are we going to get the entertainment in films like this? How good is the story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how well do they deliver the story? One of the things that I didn't really know and couldn't really follow was what time frame they were in.
Yeah.
And when it's a film like this, when they're talking about, you know, I kind of want to know what's the time lapse.
They could have done like months.
Like this, you know, and I didn't notice that. Did you notice that?
They didn't do that.
Right. And so that kind of thing for me is like, okay, how much time actually passed?
Yeah.
Was it months? Was it a year? Was it, you know, because they talked about this 18-year-old kid, and then they talked about he's, you know, graduating, going into the draft.
Right.
You know, where we at?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's one thing I didn't really care for. I do like the way they told the story, though.
Yep.
I mean, I do like that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put it on the shelf.
Yes, let's go.
It's a 4.0.
Oh, clean 4.0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, like we've talked about a lot. I mean, we've talked about with the character dynamics, we've talked about cinematography, all of that stuff just blends together so well for me of making this a good film to watch. You know, the rewatchability, like it's not one that you're going to watch every year because it's not action. It's not drama. It's once you hear the story once or twice, like again, I'll go back to watch it just because it's really intriguing, but you're not going to watch it like 10, 15 times.
No, it's one of those things like, you know, in 10 years from now, I'll be like, oh yeah, I should watch that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I gave it a 4.2. Again, a lot of the story I haven't heard before, so it was really intriguing. I always love, like, you know, based on true stories. I love it at the end of the films where you can see where they're at now. I always think that's super intriguing on the based on true story movies, and so I like that we had the story initially, and we can kind of also continue to connect with them to see where they're at now.
Yeah, no, totally. What else you got?
That's
it.
That's it.
You done?
That's all the air I have to spend.
Ooh, I like what you did there.
Yeah.
Hey, we're just a couple of slug heads. Can't talk. We want to have fun. We want to have fun with you. We want to know what you think. LegitQ at Matty'sMovieMix.com. That is
LegitQ at Matty'sMovieMix.com.
Talk to you. See you next time. Something like that.
Hammer the share button. Go ahead and hammer out a comment to us. Go ahead and hammer the like button. Go Go ahead and hammer the subscription button. Go ahead and hammer the notification bells, because you know what? That's the best way you can support us. We appreciate it.
Life's too short to be uncomfortable, so make others uncomfortable and wear something from www.shinybrandproducts.com.